ready whenever you guys are.
Okay.
You just switch to our sweet graphic. Pull Andrew up. Yeah. Just give me a 3, 2, 1 countdown.
5, 4, 3. Today is July 22nd, 2013.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bad Communication Podcast.
From Osaka, I'm Andrew Hawkins.
And coming at you live from Tokushima, my name is Hiroki Matsauchi.
And from Tokyo, I'm Alex Kobayashi.
And today, Goat Cafe. That's the title of our show because we are talking about a goat cafe. And we couldn't think of any other clever title. I don't know, Alex, what did you say? 2013 Goat Cafe?
Yeah, because cat cafes are so last year.
That's right. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. We did talk about what? Cat cafes, reptile cafes. What else is on the list?
Cafes.
Falcon Cafe.
Falcon cafes. But yeah, that's so 2012. Goat cafes, the wave of the future.
Goats are where it's at.
Apparently, and man, that little baby goat is super cute. Anyway, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 153 of the Bad Communication Podcast. Bad Communication Netcast. The video netcast all about Japan and goat cafes. And happy election day, guys. Well, it's a day late,
Yesterday.
I guess. But that means no more obnoxious, announcement vans cruising around the neighborhood at 8 o'clock in the morning.
You know, where I'm living, it wasn't that bad this time around.
I always wondered if it's worse or better in urban centers. I mean, in the countryside, it's horrible. And
Yeah.
I think the law, allowed...
During the last mayoral election, it was god-awful here.
How was it up in Tokyo yesterday and the day before?
You usually see them perched on stations, just overtaking the stations. Oh, we were in Yokohama and it was terrible there.
Or they're I imagine especially in a city like Tokyo, I imagine there are politicians on other side of the train station just yelling at each other or competing for the attention of the passing crowd.
Probably we're surrounded.
Really?
There's several people handing out stuff saying take this, support us,
Right.
blah blah blah.
So just to
I got handed something by I forgot which party it was.
Oh, you get some good swag sometimes. I think I picked up a fan or two.
I think it's kind of funny. They hand me this stuff and I'm like, do I look like I can vote in this country? But I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as I'm carrying it around, people will see it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes you'll actually see politicians standing on the sides of streets, waving at cars going by. And not being a driver, I'm usually going by on a bike. And they always, say yoroshiku onegaishimasu, please vote for me, essentially. And it's kind of what do I look like I can vote? But I guess, they're just being polite, trying to say it to everyone.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the elections are over. Just to give you guys a bit of a background, the elections in Japan, among other things, entail these little vans that drive around the neighborhoods with these enormous megaphones attached to them. And the actual politicians will go around and... What do they say? They don't say much. They pretty much just say their name.
Mostly they just say their names and please and thank you, because they're just trying to get their names out there.
Yeah, so for example...
The idea is people hear their name and they think, okay, I remember that guy's name, I'll vote for him.
This is the complexity of the Japanese election.
Often, I mean, sometimes when standing out in front of the stations, they'll be kind of spewing platitudes.
I mean that's the thing. It's nothing substantive most of the time. Every now and again, you'll get these politicians that give speeches at public areas like train stations.
Yeah, but for the most part, they're just saying good things. They're not really. They're just doing what politicians do around the world. They're not really giving any substantive. It's not a debate. They're just talking about all the good things that they're going to do.
Just mesmerization,
kissing babies, so to speak. Yeah. So again, that was the first story that Andrew you put down in the rundown. Do you want to jump right in?
Well, so the era of twisted government is over, according to the WSJ. Well, actually, it isn't. I kind of made that headline up, but it's true. So, as predicted, after their landslide win in December, the Liberal Democratic Party, led by Prime Minister Abe, Shinzo Abe, took a majority. Well, them and their partner party, New Komeito, took a majority in the upper house elections yesterday.
Yep.
The upper house being like the equivalent of the Senate if you're an American, except less powerful.
So there's the upper house and the lower house, which is pretty much
Right.
like Congress.
Yeah, or parliament, but yeah. Not much else to say about it. He was riding on the strength of his Abenomics, which are just basically huge stimulus policies, just injecting tons and tons of money into the national budget,
Right.
and increasing the debt, by the way. But I guess we'll figure that stuff out later.
Yeah. It was kind of Abenomics was kind of the term coined to describe his economic policy, and a lot of people are saying it's actually nothing really that new.
No, but it was just something, and it was something that could produce results quickly.
Right.
I think is the deal.
So, just to give you guys a small bit of background about Japanese politics, and because we won't delve too deeply into it because I simply don't know that much about it. But the ruling party now that took control of the upper house is the Liberal Democratic Party. And some people kind of liken them to the conservatives in the United States, but that's actually not really a fair analogy.
Well, the left wing, right wing divide is doesn't really apply the same way in Japan.
No, exactly. But the Liberal Democratic Party had been in control for decades before. How many years ago was it that Hatoyama took power? Well, they were in control for decades post World War II until the Democratic Party of Japan, I know it's really confusing, took power just for a short few years. And now the new party has once again been entirely ousted from the position of prime minister, from the lower house, and now the upper house.
Now the upper house.
So the old regime is back in town, essentially.
Yeah, the old game is back in town. Abe is set to become the first prime minister who will last, barring some unforeseen scandal or
More than 3 months.
intra-party revolt. He'll be the first prime minister to last more than a year. So
Yep.
he won't. If everything goes smoothly, he won't have to face the voters again for another 3 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, whether or not you like the current ruling party, the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, it does, as Andrew said, it speaks to the fact that politics is going to be relatively stable for the next 3 years.
Right, and they're kind of, I guess I would liken them to being the technocratic party because they don't really play politics too much. For most of Japan's modern history, they were in control, and all of their policies mostly came from the bureaucracy. The bureaucrats in their respective ministries who were, studied people who devoted their entire careers to policy would come up with the policies, and they would just pass it.
Yep.
It's kind of a good thing actually in some ways. Because politics and governing is less about compromise and horse trading and double dealing, and politicians ramming through policies that are not necessarily the best ideas, just what they think are going to win them votes.
Right. So the whole idea with this election, the fact that the LDP is back in power and the government is kind of stabilized, is the fact that maybe the government can actually get something done over the next 3 years instead of
And what I meant by
pandering
twisted
to.
government is for the past 6 years, the houses of parliament have been divided.
Yeah.
The upper house was held by the LDP previously, they had a majority in the lower house, but they did not have one in the upper house. So that it frustrates things.
Yep, you can't pass any laws.
The upper house can't block laws, but they can delay them enough.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, it makes governing difficult. It's like a divided government in the U.S. where, well, I guess like we have now. Like we usually have, actually, where one party holds Congress and the other party holds the presidency.
Right. Yeah, this is nothing new to the American viewers, but hey.
That's normal for America.
The old school is back, and I guess there's no school like the old school. But hey, if you guys want to learn more about this, you should check out another really prolific blogger who lives in Tokyo. His name is Hiko Saimon. He's a kind of a political guru, and he follows this stuff a lot more closely than at least I do. But I was hoping that we could talk a little bit about goat cafes. I don't know.
The name of the episode.
Yeah.
The goat cafes are a thing now.
They are, yeah. Well, it came with the new party. The LDP campaigned on the Goat Cafe platform, which is a very popular platform.
That makes so much sense.
That's why they won.
Anyway, brought to us from TokyoDesu.com. If you think cat cafes are the strangest culture in Japanese display of culture, then you've severely underestimated what this country can do.
That's right.
The new thing is goat cafes, apparently. There's a new one that opened up in Tokyo Shibuya district called Sakuraoka Cafe. And they've got two little goats named Chocolat and Sakura. Where it was actually a normal cafe, I think, and they just got them as pets. But apparently they became much bigger than just pets for the store.
Right.
Let's see. So both goats were brought in one day in efforts to help attract customers with the idea of making them feel closer to nature. A rather ironic goal seen from the goats' perspective. And then the manager says the animal cafes where people could play with cats and dogs used to be popular, but having an everyday animal doesn't bring the wow factor anymore. So
you know what does?
Goats.
Goat wearing sunglasses.
Oh yeah, check that out. And so because this taking care of goats was a huge job for them, they've sort of made an attraction for people to take care of them, take them on walks on the streets and stuff.
It's a pretty brilliant business model. I mean, so you get some goats. It's a pain to take care of them. So what you do is not only do you get your customers to take care of the goats, but you get your customers to pay you to take care of the goats, which is it's brilliant.
Yeah. Rent a goat cafe.
Rent a goat cafe. And you know this follows a whole like string of kind of themed cafes. I saw one when we were up in Tokyo last winter. There are cafes where you actually kind of hang out with in a cafe, eating food, drinking coffee, and they're like cats that run around beside you. I think Andrew, you went to a cat cafe a while ago, didn't you?
Oh yeah, a couple times.
I still kind of don't understand how this is not a severe health code violation.
Yeah, it seems like you shouldn't be having livestock that close to people.
Cats and dogs.
Urban areas.
Cats and dogs kind of make sense, but goats, yeah, that seems a little bit unsanitary. But hey, I mean, if it's legal in Japan, why not? It's pretty cool.
I guess that's one of the problems is their droppings and how everything smells with livestock usually.
Yeah,
So they're feeding them
stinks to
high
high
protein
heaven.
pills to prevent those, but doesn't really sound like too great of an idea.
Right. Now, I mean, Rocketnews, where did this come from? This didn't come from Japan Desu, whatever. It's not a terribly like serious news source, and apparently they claim that by feeding the goats protein pills, then it kind of cuts down on the stench of the feces.
Sure.
But yeah, they were kind of joking
Mhm.
about you know, all of those high protein, you know, muscle builders. They don't smell that great, so probably not going to do that much.
Anyway, the starter of the cafe has apparently a list of different cafes they're going to start, and added Elephant Cafe to the top of her list. So
Sweet. Look for it coming
yeah.
2014. Anyway, speaking of delicious food, I really quickly want to just kind of mention this. Who's got this story? I forgot.
Oh, that would be me.
Do you mind, just telling us a little bit about this?
Okay, well, last week we talked about the Black Diamond Burger,
Which is
I
black truffles.
couldn't get my hands on. But this week, this last Saturday, the last of McDonald's jewelry series burgers, the 1,000 yen, or about $10 if you're an American, burgers, with all jewelry names, was sold and sold out. And it was pretty decent. I actually got my hands on one.
Yeah, this actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look like a McDonald's burger.
Well, it was called the Ruby Spark, and it was it was interesting. I was expecting to go to McDonald's and not be able to get one, as in last week. But then I walked up to the counter. There was no line, and I asked the lady kind of timidly, "Did the Ruby Spark burgers sell out yet?" And she's like, "No, we still have them." Like, okay, I'll have one. Why the heck not? I mean, you only live once.
It's only $10 for a McDonald's hamburger.
It must have been the least popular because everybody I know was able to get their hands on one pretty easily.
everyone was too disappointed with the truffles.
Well, so
Burger.
It's interesting. It came in a bag and a box that looked like a jewelry case. You
No way,
can see
really?
the pictures of it on the Rocketnews
Let
site.
me scroll down. Yeah, there we go.
And it came with this special kind of information card. It talks about the burger, and it says all of the layers that it has in there.
No freaking way,
These,
really?
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. Well, I guess you did get your money's worth, huh?
these kind of French bakery-style buns, specially made chorizo, grilled onions, pepper jack cheese, beef patty, and avocado filling, which I would like into guacamole.
All for the low price of $10.
Looks
Yeah,
pretty good, though.
well, yeah, and it actually came with a much longer, detailed printout as well.
No way.
It was crazy.
So you're actually holding up like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with
Yeah.
details about this.
Yeah, it
Certificate.
goes into detail about every ingredient that they put in there.
That is ridiculous. Wow.
It says German, specially German-made chorizo. I always thought that chorizo was a Mexican thing.
What
I
I
could
think
be mistaken about that.
I actually did some research after this. Chorizo apparently originated from the peninsula on which like Spain is located.
Iberia?
But,
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like it's become like a general European thing. So there's like Italian chorizo, there's Spanish chorizo, Portuguese chorizo. How was the taste though? I mean, that's the big question, I think.
Good.
Was it?
It was a serious burger.
Wow.
It's not $10 on a regular basis good, but
Right.
considering it was a one-time only deal, yeah, sure.
So I mean, is this series finished? I know they had the pineapple one, they had the truffle one, and now this is the chorizo one. Is there another line
Nope,
coming out?
That's it.
Oh.
This was the last for this series.
No way, huh?
But it seemed like it was so successful that they'll probably do it again.
Yeah. Hey, I guess if they make money off of it.
They might not be the same burgers. They'll probably come up with some new recipes.
That's really cool. I got to check this out next time. I was so skeptical about spending $10 for a burger, but
But I mean,
you only YOLO, right? You only live once.
it's not something I would spend $10 on often, but once in a lifetime, sure, why not?
Next time. All right, guys, we're getting pretty close to the to break time, so we got to take a quick break. But actually, I do have a short video that I did prepare. It's kind of like a little side green screen project thing that I've been working on. It's some fun facts about Tokyo Skytree. So yeah, please take a look and let me know what you guys think. And we will see you guys after the break. See you in a bit. Bye. When you hear the word Skytree, what comes to mind? Do you imagine a giant tree floating through the sky like in a Miyazaki film? Or maybe just a really big tree reaching out towards the heavens? While both of these would be pretty cool, the Skytree we're referring to is actually located in Tokyo, and at a staggering 634 meters, it became the tallest tower in the world when construction was completed in March of 2011. In addition to the unique rounding of the tower's upright structure from a triangular base to a circular top, the tower uses a central pillar of reinforced concrete, which acts as a seismic dampener and can absorb up to 50% of the energy from an earthquake. The central pillar is attached to the outer part of the tower, starting at 125 meters above the ground, via a series of oil dampeners. While this tech is quite novel, it's actually far from being a new technology. Wooden structures supported using a large central pillar have been around since the 6th century in Japan. Dendrochronological analysis has shown that the central pillar at the 5-story pagoda in Nara was felled in the year 594. Yes, that's right. Parts of that 32.45 meter structure are over 1,400 years old. So why was the name Tokyo Skytree chosen for this broadcast tower and tourist magnet? For 2 months in 2007, names were collected from the general public and narrowed down to 6 finalists by committee. Tokyo Skytree, Tokyo Edo Tower, Rising Tower, Tower of the Future, Dream Lookout, and Rising East Tower were put to a nationwide vote, and the result was announced in 2008. Tokyo Skytree won out with 30% of the 110,000 votes, beating out Tokyo Edo Tower as the number 2 favorite.
While Tokyo Skytree is the tallest tower in the world, it still holds the number 2 spot behind the Burj Khalifa, which at a staggering 829.8 meters tall is the tallest man-made structure in the world. But who knows how long even that Goliath will remain at the top of the list. If the proposed Kingdom Tower ever reaches completion, it will tower over the Saudi Arabian landscape at over 1,000 meters. With a completion date of 2019, we've still got some time to wait, however. Until then, you can fight off the estimated 25 million annual visitors and head up to one of Tokyo Skytree's 2 observation decks, located 350 and 450 meters above the ground. Thanks for watching this episode of The Japan Show. If you have any suggestions about other cool architectural marvels in Japan, please leave a comment below. And if you'd like to see more episodes like this one, head over to youtube.com/thejapanshow and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Bad Communication Netcast.
Sorry, I know that was kind of a surprise for you guys. No idea what's
hilarious.
going on. Oh, did you guys actually see the video?
No.
So actually, I was screwing around with a green screen that I bought recently or set up recently, and I didn't really have any specific topic that I wanted to talk about, but I also wanted to play around with like some like motion graphics and do some cool, funky stuff like that. So I thought, hell, why not? I'll talk about Skytree for a bit. So I put this little episode together. Yeah, you should take a look. It was fun. It was a good time. It's really interesting. Did you guys ever do any green screen stuff?
No, I've never tried it.
It's surprisingly, it's easy to do, but it's really difficult to do well.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, like you would never imagine something that technical being almost like an art form, but yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, if any of you guys have any green screen advice for me, please let me know. Anyway, guys, shall we jump into the next story, which I think is me, right?
Yeah.
So this next article comes to us via Rocketnews 24 and is titled, "Breaching the Laws of Quality. Has Japan's Preferential Treatment of Women Gone Too Far?" Yes. Andrew's laughing.
Oh, Rocket News 24 occasionally puts out flame bait articles like this.
Oh, they know how to get the clicks. So the article goes on to say, for women-only seats in libraries to female-only university cafes, it would seem that women get a lot of preferential treatment in Japan. Whether it be a restaurant with ladies' courses, and I can attest this does happen pretty often, and I was kind of surprised when I first saw it, or menus or cinemas offering ladies' day discounts. It's difficult to ignore the abundance of cheap deals or special services offered towards women. On the other hand, it all serves to help the struggling Japanese economy. That's questionable. But a lot of men can't help but feel that they're being a little discriminated against.
Fairly or unfairly.
So I think it's needless to say that men do, they get a lot of advantages in this world. It is a very male-dominated society, although
especially in this country,
changing. And yeah, it's particularly prevalent in a country like Japan. It's very kind of male-oriented. Mm-hmm. So, there are a number of programs kind of being instituted both publicly and privately. One of the biggest examples is on trains, in subways, very often between certain hours on certain days, typically the busiest times.
On some companies, it's all the time.
Oh,
on
really?
JR West, it's 24/7, except in the case of a train delay.
So yeah, these train companies will actually offer entire cars for women only, and there are many reasons why they do this. Probably one of the main reasons is to kind of combat, chikans, which are like sexual predators, I guess. Perverts, pretty much.
Which is a big problem.
People who kind of like inappropriately touch women on the train or try to take pictures of their skirts, which it's a surprisingly big problem in Japan, or at least
it's a depressingly big problem. Yeah,
or at least it's a very publicized problem in Japan. I always sometimes wonder if it's better or worse in other countries. Since the only experience I really have is the United States, where unless you live in a big city, nobody rides the trains. Yeah, so a lot of
That's not necessarily true. I'm sure you could find several cases in New York.
yeah, exactly, a big city, right? So I mean, this is probably the most prevalent example, but there are a lot of like special deals, as they said, offered to women. Like if you go to a restaurant, very often there will be a ladies' course, which is typically like a smaller size course, usually with
And
a
I
little.
thought that was just the name of it, but anybody could order it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yes.
thought it was just called the ladies' course, but if you're a man and you really want to order it, there's no reason why not.
Oh, but I mean, if you do order the ladies' course and you're
It's
alone
just kind of embarrassing.
by
Right.
yourself, the waiter's gonna kind of raise his eyebrows a little bit to you and like.
But
"Oh,
it's
sorry."
not like the restaurant's going to be like, no, we refuse to take your money.
Well, okay, so the only thing that I found out you cannot do in many restaurants in Japan is it's order the kids meal. Did you guys ever try ordering the kids meal at like Gusto or places like that?
No.
You cannot apparently as an adult order the
Yeah,
kids meal.
usually there's like a age range you have to be.
Yep, and it's definitely under the age of 28 in my case. So I mean, those are small things, but apparently there are some other like liberties being offered to women, such as like women's only lounges in libraries, public libraries at that,
That
Or-
example I thought was a little bit extreme.
or female only sections of the cafeteria in like a university. And I definitely do see a need for it in certain cases, like to combat, groping and those kind of crimes. But I feel like in many cases, this type of segregation almost serves to worsen the problem, to kind of like even more clearly delineate the difference between men and women. It seems very strange that you would need an area of the cafeteria that's reserved specifically for women. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, as far as I can tell, there's nothing inherently, genderally different about the way women and men eat. I'm
Well,
sure I'm
okay.
going to get some flack for that, but
There's on one case it was pointed out in another article that actually the women's only car on the train in Japan, that's not a legal thing. And the train company has they have no grounds to actually kick you off of the train if you're a man and determined to ride in that car.
oh yeah.
The sign is basically just saying, if you're a man, please don't ride in this car.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
They have no recourse if you're, and these ladies only areas. It's all kind of a comfort thing. It's just kind of perceptions. But like if somebody's intent on causing you harm, these kind of ladies only areas are not going to stop them.
Right. It's
For one thing, so
it's
it's
just
all just kind of appearances. It's kind of superficial.
it's just to discourage it mentally, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, you could say that, but I think unfortunately we're not at the point where women can feel comfortable around men in all cases.
Well, okay, so I
Um,
mean, like in the case of the ladies' meals, don't you feel that? I don't know. I almost feel like that kind of perpetuates a little bit of a not a negative stereotype, but a stereotype, an unreasonable stereotype that
Well, yeah, that's true.
women are for some reason. Well,
But I mean, I made this. Okay.
yeah, okay.
We're kind of talking about two different things here, but
Yeah.
like going back to the ladies only car on the trains.
right.
Sometimes I would think I would get a little bit annoyed to myself about the existence of what kind of childishly seemed in my mind like the girls' club car.
Right. Right.
But then when you think about all the women who have to deal with the huge inconvenience of unwelcome male attention in public, it's kind of seems like a fair compromise.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I totally agree with the whole the separation of trains.
So, well, like until we can work ourselves to a point in society where those few guys, and yes, it is a small subset of men who treat women like objects and who feel entitled to their bodies anytime and any place, until we get to a point where we can deal with them appropriately and ostracize them for the bad people that they are, we kind of, unfortunately, this stuff kind of seems necessary.
Right. So I think
The public library stuff and the cafes, that's a little less. It seems a
Yeah.
little bit extreme to me, more so than the train cars.
I guess probably. I think what I'm trying to say is,
But to be fair, there are also men's nights at movie theaters.
are
It's
there
just yeah,
really?
yeah. Certain movie theater chains have men's nights. It's just
Oh.
an attempt to get people through the door.
Gotta figure that out. Yeah. Well, I guess my initial reaction to this was it's more treating the symptom and not the cause type thing. I think Andrew, you kind of hit it on the head, or I agree with you when you said until it gets to a point where these men don't exist or these men are, you know,
Well, bad people are always going to exist, but the problem is that, I mean, I've done a lot of reading about, quote, rape culture. And the problem is that most men are not like that, but the men who are like that get away with it because society doesn't punish them.
right. So it seems like this is more of a Band-Aid over a
So,
gaping
and
wound.
that's why I feel like these articles from Rocket News are kind of flame baiting, because they're not, they're coming off like men's rights activists.
Yeah. Well, I guess I mean the last quote. It said, creating women-only areas actually carries a high risk of breaching the laws and equality. Installing a male-only area would offset this, but really it's best to think carefully when it comes to gender exclusivity in public places.
One of the things I think though is the women's only areas in cafes and stuff is like, is it a place you really want to hang out? Because like they said, it's in that one restaurant, the second floor was also a makeup space with huge mirrors and stuff. I don't know, maybe some men do,
Right.
But I don't really.
So I mean, that's a perfect example, though. I mean, I feel like that almost enforces a negative
It's
stereotype
kind of
about
punishing transgender people as well.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic. But I mean, I feel like there would be a lot of women that would actually be kind of resentful of the fact that, you walk into a restaurant or a cafeteria, you see the women's only section, and it's like a bunch of women just, I don't know, standing in front of, what do they say, like floor length mirrors applying makeup. I mean, I feel like a lot of women would say, well, I mean, I'm a woman, but that's not
It doesn't
me.
appeal to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably.
that's not who I am. And I feel like in many cases, this type of separation kind of serves to reinforce that notion. Just like when you go to a restaurant and like you see the ladies' course, which is typically more petite and more healthy. I mean, I feel like there are plenty of women that would say like, all right, I mean, I'm worried about being healthy, but I don't want to. I'm not petite. I don't necessarily care any less or more about my health than the average man. But on the other hand, I definitely can sympathize with women who just want some peace of mind when it comes to riding the trains. It's a really interesting topic. If you guys want
Something we could make an entire show about, I'm sure.
yeah, hell, if you guys want to write in and let us know what you think, please hit us up. We're badcompodcast at gmail.com. We had a few more articles, but we're butting up pretty close to the end of the show. I think we gotta check out for today. Any last things you want to mention before we head off? Last takers? No?
Sorry.
Sub-Tokyo?
Tenjin Festival is this week in Osaka, but I won't be there because of work.
Anyway, check it out if you guys have a chance.
Sub-Tokyo.
Curses.
Damn you.
There's a lot of things coming up this summer, so
Check out the Sub-Tokyo YouTube channel, youtube.com/Subtokyo. Anyway, if you guys want to find our blog with links to all of the articles we talked about today, it's badcommunicationjapan.com. There's all sorts of contact information as well. So, hit us up there if you guys want to get in touch. All right, I think that's about it, guys. I've got to wrap up the show. So, let's get the hell out of here for now. Once again, my name is Hiroki Matsuuchi.
And I'm Andrew Hawkins.
and I'm Alex Kobayashi.
And this is Bad Communication. We're all about goats. See you guys next week.
Bye.
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 Bye.